The autumn sunset paints my parents' suburban home in amber light as I pull into the driveway. Sunday dinner, a ritual I've upheld for years, despite the quiet undercurrents of tension that have trailed our family like a shadow. I smooth down my charcoal pencil skirt and tug at the hem of my cream blouse before stepping out of my sensible sedan. Through the wide bay window, I catch flashes of movement, silhouettes crossing, the sound of laughter drifting faintly through the glass. Something about tonight feels altered, charged. I knock twice before letting myself in with my key, a habit my mother drilled into me as a child. Always announce yourself, Michelle. It's the polite thing to do. The aroma of roast chicken and rosemary potatoes greets me immediately, warm and familiar. The hallway walls are lined with framed photographs, decades of carefully curated moments. My high school graduation portrait, Rachel's college ceremony where she wore white and beamed, family vacations where I stand slightly to the side, smiling politely while everyone else radiates unfiltered joy. "Michelle, is that you?" Mom calls from the dining room, her voice bright with anticipation. "It's me," I answer, hanging my coat on the wooden rack by the door. I follow her voice and stop short in the doorway. Rachel stands beside the china cabinet in a deep burgundy cocktail dress that likely cost more than my rent for the month. Her hair has fresh highlights falling in glossy waves over her shoulders. Dad stands at the head of the table pouring champagne into crystal flutes, the ones reserved for Christmas mornings and major life announcements. "Michelle!" Mom rushes toward me, wrapping me in a hug that smells faintly of Chanel No. 5 and excitement. She's wearing her pearl earrings, the good ones. "You're right on time." Dad finishes pouring the fourth glass and lifts his own. Perfect timing, we were just about to make a toast. A toast? I accept the flute, noting Rachel's barely contained energy as she grips hers. "What are we celebrating?" Mom and Dad exchange satisfied glances. "To Rachel's future," Dad declares, raising his glass higher. We clink gently. The champagne is dry and expensive, crisp with a hint of apple. I take a careful sip, watching Rachel over the rim. "I found it," she blurts, unable to restrain herself. "My dream house in Oakwood Heights. You know that luxury townhouse community they've been developing? The one with rooftop terraces and a private pool? That's wonderful," I say, summoning enthusiasm I don't feel. "Oakwood Heights?" Where prices start at $450,000. "We submitted the offer yesterday," Rachel continues breathlessly, "and they accepted this morning. I'm gonna be a homeowner." Dad slips an arm around her shoulders. We couldn't be prouder. "We're assisting with the down payment," Mom adds brightly, patting Rachel's hand. "From the Family Trust Fund." "The Family Trust Fund?" The phrase echoes in my mind as the room seems to tilt slightly. My fingers tighten around the delicate stem of the glass. "The Family Trust Fund?" I repeat quietly. "The account I've been depositing into for the past 10 years? Dad's face flickers with something like discomfort before settling into firmness. "It's meant for milestones, Michelle. That's always been its purpose." 10 years ago, I was 22, newly graduated and working my first real job as an administrative assistant at Wilson & Brooks law firm. They'd invited me to dinner, just the three of us. Dad had laid out papers at this very table. "It's time to start planning your future, Michelle," he'd said. "A security account for your wedding, your first home. Contribute what you can monthly. We'll oversee it, add to it. When the time comes, you'll be prepared." For decades, I transferred $500 every month. I skipped vacations, lived in a cramped apartment with unreliable plumbing, furnished it with secondhand pieces, watched the balance climb steadily to nearly $60,000. My savings, my restraint, my future. Rachel scrolls through photos on her phone. "Look at this kitchen. Granite countertops, cathedral ceilings, and the master suite has a walk-in closet the size of your living room." "It's beautiful," I murmur, my throat tightening. "Michelle's always been the practical one," Dad says casually. "She understands how these things work. This is what families do." Mom pats my arm dismissively. "You don't even have a serious relationship right now, dear. Rachel's at a different stage. Rachel, who took 3 years after college to discover herself, while I worked 60-hour weeks. Rachel, whose car was a graduation gift while I rode the bus. Rachel, whose European vacation was deemed an educational investment. "Excuse me," I say softly, setting down my nearly untouched champagne. "I need the bathroom." I lock the door and pull out my phone, hands shaking. I open the banking app. The joint account appears on the screen. Previous balance, $59,872.43. Current balance, 0. Last transaction, transfer to external account, yesterday. The room spins. 10 years drained in a single transfer without a word to me. Through the door, Rachel chatters about paint swatches. Mom laughs. Dad's voice rumbles with approval. In the mirror, I barely recognize the woman staring back. The dependable daughter, the one who understands. But I don't understand. This isn't about money anymore. It's about worth, about being valued. I straighten my shoulders and unlock the door. The bathroom door swings open harder than intended, banging against the wall. All three of them turn toward me, glasses still raised. That was my money, I say calmly. Mom laughs lightly. It's a family fund. We decide together. Did anyone consult me before emptying an account I funded entirely? Rachel rolls her eyes. Don't overreact. It wasn't being used. Dad sets down his glass deliberately. Calm down, Michelle. Your sister needs this. It's for the greater good. Show me the statements, I say. Now's not the time. Show me the statements. After a silent exchange, Dad sighs and heads to his office. Mama texts reassurance. Rachel found her perfect home. Can't you just be happy? Rachel smiles. There's a spare bedroom for you when you visit. The generosity of offering me a room in a house bought with my savings makes my stomach turn. Dad returns with a leather portfolio and sets it down reluctantly. I open it immediately. Monthly statements. Deposit after deposit marked with my name. There's nothing from either of you, I say quietly. Not a single contribution. We provided guidance, Dad says stiffly. Guidance? I flip further. What's this $20,000 withdrawal from August 2022? Rachel avoids my gaze. Graduate school help, Mom says smoothly. A loan. And this $12,000? These smaller withdrawals? Car down payment. Some support between jobs. Her European trip? Mom reaches for my hand. Family helps family. And who helps me? You've always been capable, Dad replies. Independent. Because I had to be, I say. We raised you, he counters. Provided everything. The basics, I reply quietly. Your sister needs this start, Dad insists. And I don't? I close the portfolio. I've supported this family for 32 years by being the responsible one. Rachel scoffs. It's just money. Save more. It's not my fault you chose a dull career. I stand, collecting my purse and the portfolio. Where are you going? Mom asks. I made lemon squares. I'm not hungry. Dad rises. Be reasonable. The decision's already been made, I say, moving toward the door. Yes, it has. Rachel huffs. You're ruining a celebration over money. I pause at the doorway. This isn't about money. It's about trust. The door closes softly behind me. In my car, the portfolio rests heavy on the passenger seat. Streetlights flicker on as I drive away. I've always come back before, always forgiven. Not tonight. That evening in my apartment, the statements scatter across my coffee table. My phone buzzes repeatedly. I ignore it until curiosity wins. Rachel's Instagram shows her outside Oakwood Heights, keys in hand. Dreams come true with a generous family. Hashtags about blessings and family first. Mom texts, please call us. Your father is upset about your behavior. Dad texts about reputation. Rachel says I should be happy for her. Voicemails follow, concern melting into threats about the will. When there's a knock the next evening, I expect confrontation. Instead, it's Sarah with wine and a folder. You sounded awful, she says, stepping inside. She explains that emptying a jointly held account without consent may not just be unfair, it might be illegal. I resist the word. Illegal doesn't belong with parents. But 2 days later, I sit across from Thomas Wilson. This is your money, he says firmly after reviewing everything. They're my parents, I whisper, which makes this breach of trust even worse. After work, I linger in my third-grade classroom. Children's drawings line the walls. Lily's butterfly, Xavier's family portrait, Emma's solar system. 5 years of teaching, 5 years of choosing stability near home over opportunities elsewhere. The Colorado outdoor program, the curriculum role in Chicago. Trips canceled, relationships ended to appease expectations. Year after year of shrinking myself to fit the responsible daughter mold. On my desk lies Jamie's drawing from our lesson on integrity. A stick figure standing tall while others crouch. Miss Robinson taught me to stand up for myself, it reads in careful handwriting. My phone rings, startling me. Unknown number. Michelle? It's Aunt Meredith. My father's sister, the family outlier who moved to Arizona after a falling out years ago. Aunt Meredith? How did you... Sarah called me. We've kept in touch over the years. Of course they have. The two strong-willed women always got along. I heard what Robert and Patricia did. She continues, her voice carrying the desert's dry warmth even through the phone. With your savings. It's complicated, I start, the default defense mechanism engaging automatically. No, it's not, she cuts in. They did the same thing to me with Grandma's jewelry. The pieces she specifically left to me in her will. Your father convinced me they needed to stay in the main family line. I let it go because I thought that's what family did. My breath catches. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. They've built a wall of silence around their behavior for decades. Your grandfather did it to your father. Your father learned it and perfected it. And now they're doing it to you. Her voice softens. Don't let them do this to you, Michelle. This pattern has existed for generations in this family. I look up at Jamie's drawing again, the small figure standing tall. This stops with me, I say, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. Good girl, I can hear the smile in Aunt Meredith's voice. Now, here's what you're going to do. I listen as she outlines the steps I need to take. Practical, legal, emotional. By the time we hang up, the sun has set outside my classroom window. But for the first time since Sunday dinner, I feel a glimmer of light inside me. This stops with me. The next day, the law office of Thomas Wilson reminds me of my grandfather's study. All dark wood panels and leather-bound books. Afternoon light filters through Venetian blinds, casting golden stripes across the polished conference table, where my bank statements lie in neat chronological order. 10 years, Thomas says, adjusting his silver-rimmed glasses. Every month without fail. I nod, watching his weathered hands move methodically through the documents. Thomas Wilson has been practicing law since before I was born. His reputation for fairness preceded him, the reason I chose him over the younger associates at my own firm. And not a single contribution from your parents, he continues, voice steady but tinged with indignation, despite their verbal assurances. They managed the account, I say, the words hollow even to my own ears. Thomas looks up, blue eyes sharp with 40 years of legal experience. They managed to empty it, Miss Robinson, without your knowledge or consent. My stomach tightens. Hearing it stated so plainly makes the betrayal even more stark. The law is clear here, Thomas says, resting his hands on the scattered papers. This is financial misappropriation. Your options include a civil suit or formal fraud charges. The word fraud lands like a stone in still water. Criminal charges against my own parents. Against Rachel. I don't want to destroy my family, I say, straightening my shoulders. I just want what's right. Thomas nods, understanding tempering his professional detachment. Then we begin with certified letters. One to the bank, formally disputing the transaction. Another to your parents, outlining the legal standing of your claim. He slides 2 envelopes across the table. I sign each letter, my signature more confident than I feel. Fair warning, Thomas says, as his assistant takes the envelopes. People rarely respond well when called to account. 4 days later, I discovered just how right he is. Aunt Meredith's dining room smells of pot roast and intention. What began as a casual family dinner has revealed itself as an ambush. Uncle Frank sits at the head of the table, his typical jovial demeanor replaced by stern disappointment. You're breaking your mother's heart, he says, pointing his fork at me. She hasn't slept since those legal papers arrived. I take a measured sip of water. I'm sorry to hear that. Cousin William leans forward, his college quarterback confidence undiminished by middle age. Rachel has always had big dreams, Michelle. You're just a teacher. The word just hangs in the air, loaded with generations of familial expectations. I've spent my life helping children achieve their dreams, I reply, folding my napkin neatly, including paying for 3 of my students' college application fees last year out of my own pocket. Aunt Meredith's eyes widened slightly. She didn't know about that.
Your sister needs that money for her future, Uncle Frank insists. Her house, her wedding, she has plans. So did I say simply. The table falls silent. For perhaps the first time, they're actually hearing me. My phone buzzes in my purse. I excuse myself to the kitchen, grateful for the momentary escape. It's a notification from Instagram. Rachel has tagged me in a post. The photo shows Rachel and her boyfriend standing before a sold sign, his arm around her waist, her left hand prominently displaying a diamond ring. The caption reads, "She said yes, celebrating our engagement and our new home. Blessed, new chapter." Comments flood the post, congratulations pouring in for the golden child. Friends and family alike celebrating Rachel's charmed life. My fingers hover over the screen. I could ignore it, walk away, but something inside me, perhaps the same steel that made me save month after month while Rachel spent freely, refuses to remain silent. I type a single measured comment. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope your home brings you as much joy as my decade of savings brought me. I hit send before I can reconsider, then return to the dining room, just as my phone begins buzzing continuously with notifications. 3 days later, the first real victory arrives in my email inbox, a formal letter from the bank, accounts frozen pending investigation into disputed transactions. My father calls within the hour, his voice thundering through the speaker. What have you done? Exactly what you taught me, I answer, surprising myself with my calm, protecting what's mine. He launches into a lecture about family loyalty and ungrateful children, his voice rising with each sentence. I let him finish. Is that all? I ask when he finally pauses for breath. He hangs up without another word. The next afternoon, I'm arranging my 3rd grader science projects when a shadow falls across my classroom door. My mother stands there, perfectly coiffed as always, looking oddly out of place among the colorful alphabet charts and student artwork. We need to talk, she says, closing the door behind her. We're family. Can't we handle this privately? I continue straightening the display, aligning Mason's volcano with Sophia's solar system model. We could have, I say, finally turning to face her. 10 years ago, or last month, or even at dinner. But not anymore. She steps closer, voice dropping to a whisper, though no one else is around. Do you know what this is doing to your father? To Rachel's wedding plans? I think of decade-old promises, of bus rides in the rain while Rachel drove her graduation gift car, of my tiny apartment with its temperamental plumbing. Yes, I say, meeting her gaze directly. I know exactly what this is doing. The same thing you've been doing to me for years. For the first time in my life, my mother looks at me, really looks at me, and I wonder if she's finally seeing the woman I've become, rather than the compliant daughter she expected me to remain. A week later, the walnut conference table gleams under recessed lighting as I take my seat beside Thomas Wilson. His silver hair catches the light, and the reassuring weight of his legal experience settles around me like armor. Across from us sit my parents and Rachel, a perfect tableau of familial disappointment. Dad's jaw works back and forth. He hasn't looked directly at me since entering the room. Mom's hands twist a tissue into shreds, her pearl bracelet clicking against the table with each nervous movement. Rachel stares at her phone, scrolling through pictures of granite countertops and walk-in closets she now realizes might slip through her fingers. Let's begin, Thomas says, his voice carrying the quiet authority of 40 years in law. He places a leather portfolio on the table and opens it with deliberate care. Dad's hand slams down. This is ridiculous. We're family, not adversaries. Michelle, I raised you better than this. Did you? The words slip out before I can stop them. Quiet but razor sharp. Mom dabs at dry eyes. You're tearing this family apart over money. Money? After everything we've done for you? Thomas clears his throat. Mrs. Robinson, with respect, let's focus on the facts. He slides printed bank statements across the polished surface. These records show a decade of monthly deposits from Michelle's account, $500 each month for 10 years. Rachel finally looks up, color draining from her face as she sees the columns of numbers. Plus, Thomas continues, statements showing 0 contributions from Robert or Ellen Robinson throughout this period. Dad's face reddens. We manage the account. That's a contribution. Mismanaged would be more accurate, Thomas replies, his tone unchanged. Under state law, this constitutes financial misappropriation, the transfer of funds without proper authorization. We didn't need authorization, Dad interrupts. It's a family fund. That's not what the paperwork indicates, Thomas says, tapping another document. The account was established in Michelle's name, with you as co-signatories, not as a discretionary family trust. Mom leans toward Dad, whispering urgently. His expression shifts from defiance to calculation. Rachel pushes back from the table. You promised me that house. I've already told everyone. I've already picked out furniture. Duh. Rachel, Mom says, her tone sharp for the first time. No, Rachel's voice rises. This is humiliating. What am I supposed to tell Jason? That we can't afford the house because my sister is being selfish? Selfish? The word hangs in the air between us. I lived in an apartment with broken heating for 3 winters to save that money. Dad and Mom exchange glances. Some silent communication passes between them, the language of a 35-year marriage that's always excluded me. Dad straightens his tie and leans forward. Let's be reasonable. Michelle, we're willing to compromise. We'll split the money 3 ways, fair for everyone. Thomas starts to speak, but I touch his arm. This moment belongs to me. No. The single syllable falls like a stone in still water. It was never yours to split. Dad's face hardens. Is this how you repay us for everything? Your mother and I gave you every advantage. Did you? I placed my palms flat on the table. You gave Rachel a car for graduation. I took the bus for 2 years. You paid for Rachel's master's degree. I worked full-time while studying. You funded her finding her self-trip to Europe. I haven't had a vacation in 6 years. Mom flinches. And when I trusted you, when I believed you were helping secure my future, you emptied my account without a word. Thomas slides a document forward. We've prepared a settlement agreement, full restoration of Michelle's funds, with 5% interest compounded annually. This is quite generous considering we could pursue damages. Dad stares at the paper as if it might bite him. You would sue your own parents? I would protect what's mine, I answer, just like you taught me. The room falls silent except for the soft whir of the air conditioning. Rachel's phone pings with a notification, but she doesn't check it. Mom whispers something to Dad. He nods curtly, then reaches for the pen Thomas offers. His hand trembles slightly as he signs his name, the black ink a stark contrast against the white page. Mom signs next, her signature flowing and elegant, never once raising her eyes to meet mine. Rachel stands abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. This is so typical. Perfect Michelle gets her way again. I've already told everyone about the house. That's not my problem, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Family helps family, Mom says weakly. That's what we've always believed. This was never about the money. I take the signed agreement Thomas passes to me. It was about respect. Rachel storms out, the door closing with a heavy thud behind her. Mom follows, after giving me one last disappointed look. Dad lingers, his authority diminished in the wake of legal consequences. I hope you're satisfied, he says finally. I study his face, the features I've always searched for in my own reflection. I'm not satisfied, Dad. I'm just finally standing up for myself. He leaves without another word. Thomas gathers his documents, tucking them neatly into his briefcase. The bank will process the transfer by tomorrow afternoon. Would you like me to have them prepare a cashier's check? Yes, I say, feeling lighter than I have in years. Thank you. The next day, I hold the check in my hands. $62,865.17. 10 years of my life quantified in dollars and cents. I drive to Westside Elementary, where I've taught third grade for 6 years. In the administrative office, I write a check for $5,000 to the school scholarship fund. Principal Alvarez asks what prompted such generosity. An inheritance, I say. From myself. That afternoon, a realtor named Janik shows me through a small cottage on Maple Street. It's nothing like Rachel's luxury townhouse, just 2 bedrooms with worn hardwood floors and a kitchen that needs updating. But the backyard has an ancient oak tree, and sunshine streams through windows that face east. It's quiet, Janet says apologetically. Some people prefer more activity. I walk through empty rooms, my footsteps echoing against bare walls. In each space, I see possibilities unfolding. Bookshelves filled with novels, a comfortable sofa for Sunday mornings, a dining table where friends will gather. For the first time, I imagine a future entirely of my own design. That evening, I call Aunt Meredith. When she answers, I can hear her television in the background, her favorite game show. I found my home, I tell her. Your home or a house, she asks, always precise with language. I smile into the phone. Both. The morning sun warms my back as I kneel in the freshly tilled soil, planting purple coneflowers along the stone path. 1 year has transformed this overgrown yard into something alive with possibility. Aunt Meredith works beside me, her gardening gloves caked with earth, her silver hair caught in the spring breeze. Your grandmother would approve, she says, patting the soil around a sturdy seedling. She always said gardens are where we plant our hopes. I smile, remembering the woman who taught me patience long before I understood its value. I think I finally understood what she meant. My cottage stands behind us, no longer the neglected foreclosure I purchased with my reclaimed savings. The pale yellow paint brightens the weathered siding, and window boxes burst with geraniums. It's modest, nothing like Rachel's luxury townhouse, but entirely mine. Inside, photographs line the mantel above the small fireplace. My 5th grade class performing their science play. Sarah and me hiking in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Aunt Meredith and I at the closing, holding up my house keys. No recent family portraits grace these walls, an absence that occasionally aches but no longer defines me. Hand me that watering can, would you? Aunt Meredith asks, interrupting my thoughts. As I pass it to her, movement at the garden gate catches my eye. My mother stands there, uncertainty written across her face. She clutches her purse with both hands, looking smaller somehow, diminished without my father beside her. Michelle, she says, using my childhood nickname for the first time since our confrontation. Your flowers are beautiful. Aunt Meredith glances between us, then tactfully murmurs something about checking on her strawberry tarts in the oven. She squeezes my shoulder as she passes, a silent assurance. Thank you, I reply, rising slowly, brushing soil from my jeans. Would you like to come in? Mother hesitates at the threshold, as if crossing into my space requires permission she's unsure she deserves. I didn't bring anything. I should have brought something. It's all right. She takes 3 careful steps into the garden, then stops. I've been thinking about what happened, what we did. Her voice wavers. I didn't see what we were doing to you. Not really. I told myself we were just being practical. The admission hangs between us, inadequate yet monumental. A year ago, I would have demanded more, a complete accounting of every inequity. Now I recognize the courage this small acknowledgement requires. I'm glad you see it now, I say simply. She nods, blinking rapidly. Your father still doesn't understand. He says you abandoned the family. I didn't abandon anyone. I just stopped abandoning myself. A robin lands on the birdbath, splashing briefly before taking flight again. We both watch it go. Would you like some tea? I offer. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's an opening, a small crack in the wall between us. Later that evening, my small dining table holds a gathering unlike any my family ever hosted. Aunt Meredith passes a platter of roasted vegetables to Sarah, while Thomas Wilson, my silver-haired attorney, tells a story that has everyone laughing. My colleague Jack raises his glass in a spontaneous toast. To building our own definitions of family, he announces. As twilight deepens, I settle onto my porch swing with my journal. The evening breeze carries the scent of lilacs, as I write the simple truth that took 32 years to discover. The most valuable thing I've gained isn't this house. It's the knowledge that I matter too. I look up as the last light fades, watching fireflies begin their evening dance above my garden. For the first time in my life, I am perfectly at peace in my own space.